Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And welcome once again to another edition of the Juice Box. I am, of course, Juice Springsteen. And before we dive into the week that was, as always, you can follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen, on Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet. Subscribe to the show on YouTube at Juicy Steen. Additionally, subscribe to this show on Apple Podcasts. If you do have time, swing by iTunes, or if you listen to it on Spotify, and drop a rating and a review if you have the time. You can also find the show on Amazon Music and, of course, juicysteen.podbean.com. Quite a bit of news and notes. I almost said stuff, but a little bit more than the stuff. We got quite a bit to dive into this week. Hopefully this will be, maybe a 40-minute episode because we're going to do a lot of WWE to start. We're going to go over some of the releases that happened, unfortunately, this week. Some unique announcements, some crazy debuts, some updated cards, and we're also going to talk about we're going to predict the Grand Slam Australia AEW card that's happening tomorrow. However, it's going to air way late after the NBA All-Star Game contest, three-point contest, the dunk contest, all of those fun activities they do on All-Star Weekend on Saturday night. So that's when the Grand Slam Australia will be airing, but I believe it will be taped tomorrow, live, taped to be live. So looking forward to that show. We'll kind of go over predictions in regards to that as well. And I also will talk about my experience at WRESTLEREX. We can jump right into that, actually, to kick off this week of the Juice Box. I had a great weekend of pro wrestling. I, went to WRESTLEREX, which is a local Pittsburgh area independent wrestling promotion. It used to run out of the old Rex Theater, which is no longer in operation. So WRESTLEREX just kind of rebranded itself, even though the name stayed the same. And they had a show this past week at the City Winery, which is a unique venue, to say the least. I've seen some comedy shows there. It's been a really cool venue to see any show. But for wrestling, I was kind of intrigued as to how they were going to pull a show like this off, and they did with a well-done production. I saw a lot of different people working in different ways, whether it's camera, lighting, sound, ringing the bell, setting up the rings, a lot of intricate parts going into having WRESTLEREX at City Winery. I mean, the ring was basically just on this floor. Where the stage where the comics would be is where the wrestlers would come out with a little ramp to the ring, but the fans would stand. It was standing room only, practically, outside of sitting on the balcony. But the fans are right on top of the ring. They can, pound on the ring. PWG had that back when they were at the American Legion in Reseda. You're that close to the ring. Of course, there were seats, but you could still pound on the ring if necessary if you were that close. But very intimate. I loved that fact that you're kind of just in there. The wrestlers are right next to you. You're right in the action the whole time, and I had a great time. So I wanted to shout out a few people. First and foremost, Sam Adonis, independent pro wrestler, well traveled, a lot of work in Mexico for sure, and I've talked to him a little bit on the side, and it was really cool to finally get a chance to meet Sam and actually see this promotion live for what it is, and I had a great time. There were 6 matches in total, 2 intermissions, so 2 matches, 2 matches, 2 matches. a solid little setup, I felt, for an indie show. The bar was right there. It was perfectly set up, in my opinion. And everybody, again, seemed to work really, really hard to make the production as smooth as it went. There was, no issue, I felt, with the length of the show. In regards to, there was a lot of people at the show. The balcony was even filled out, which was really cool. I couldn't really see up there from my vantage point as I was underneath it, but a really cool venue. I really suggest, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, check out WrestleRex the next time they are in town, assuming they go to the winery again, for sure. I also had the good fortune of meeting former First Lady of WCW, one Missy Hyatt, which is really, really cool to meet her. I grew up watching recorded tapes of early WCW, 90, 91, 92. So that's right in the thick of, Missy Hyatt becoming a really prominent star in her own right. And, being the backstage correspondent and winning the Beach Blast 1992 bikini contest against Medusa. So I wore my Beach Blast 1992 shirt from that event, from my personal WCW pay-per-view T-shirt collection, and I went and met her. I took a photo with her. I wanted to show her the shirt, and she was kind of pissed that she didn't actually get one back in the day, which was kind of humorous at the time. So I'm gonna see what I can do. Maybe I can find her a real Beach Blast 92 shirt in my travels, because I do frequent the interwebs for these types of shirts anyway. So if I find one, maybe I can score one so I can give her a piece of memorabilia she quite frankly earned back in 1992. But it was really cool. I digress. It was really cool to see her, meet her. Looks great, And I also I ran into Mark Madden, former WCW announcer from 2000. However, he had been working on the magazine and some other online things for a while, back in, I think from 95 onward. But he's been a stalwart in Pittsburgh sports media for a very long time, over 30 years. Great work on 105.9 The X, and sometimes he still, references wrestling. He's got wrestlers coming on to interview when they come into town, and I'd only met him one other time, I believe, a SmackDown show in 2018. I met up with him while I was with a friend of the show, Justin LaBar. So it was really cool to hang out with him and see him there. But seeing him this past weekend was really nice. So shout out to Mark Madden, Missy Hyatt, Sam Adonis. I got to hang out with friends of the show as well. And, seeing Sam in the ring, I saw EC3, Victor Benjamin, who, the Savage Gentleman, who I believe, had been around Pittsburgh area for a long time as a wrestler. I know I've seen him on Ring of Honor and some other independent shows in the past. The Beast Man was there, who I'd seen at RWA over 10 years ago, and he was just kind of a new character in RWA's mythos. And his gimmick has evolved, and he's become a world traveler. He just actually returned from Japan, so it was really cool to see him. And I met up with people that were familiar with his work and were close to him, so it was really cool to tell them that story, and to see him still killing it out there. Was really awesome to see. So WrestleRex, man, I had a great time. I'm looking forward to WrestleRex coming back at some point in the future, hopefully again here in 2025, sooner rather than later. But additionally, the next show that's going to have some of those wrestlers appearing at it is the Bruno Forever Show, helping support the Pittsburgh Food Bank, the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank, which is a great organization. Friend of the show and contributor Brian Ghoulish and the Rev Rennell Hunt involved with the food bank as well throughout the years. But this Bruno Forever Show is a tribute to studio wrestling. Of course, Bruno Sammartino, the longest reigning WWE champion of all time, legend here in Pittsburgh from the area, 7 years as WWE champion in one of his reigns. And they're going to celebrate that with, a tribute to studio wrestling in March. I believe it's March 15th. Tickets are on sale. They're still they're going fast, though. I secured my ticket pretty early. I did not want to miss this. Additionally, Corey Graves is going to be there. Bill Apter is going to be there. And potentially most importantly, Stan the Lariat Hansen's going to be there, which, I mean, I'm a huge Vader fan, so it's really cool to have one of Vader's biggest adversaries at this show. So I know there's going to be a Q&A, I believe, by Bill Apter, so with Stan Hansen. So it's going to be a very old school atmosphere, and I am really looking forward to checking that out in March. So WrestleRex, great time. Check it out. Support independent pro wrestling. Looking forward to more shows of their kind, and hopefully they run City Winery more, because I really, really enjoyed that venue. So check it out if you're in the Pittsburgh area. And like I said, Bruno Forever, March 15th. Check it out. Check out Sam Adonis on Twitter and on Instagram for all those information necessary for that event. I believe Corey Graves also reposted something because he's going to be there. So if you can find it and locate it, more power to you. Check it out. That getting out of the way, again, great weekend of pro wrestling. It's always fun to go to these shows. I love any type of pro wrestling to go to. And I think that was my first show since, was it since SummerSlam? I'm not sure. That might have been my first wrestling show since last August, which is pretty wild. I don't think there was any other show in between then, to be honest with you. So it's been a little bit, so it was nice to get back out there to watch that show. Let's get into some other stuff. We're going to talk some WWE, of course, and then we're going to close out with the Grand Slam predictions on my end. Let's go through some unfortunate things, and then we'll talk about some funny things, and then use some unique items, and then some meat and potatoes items. Let's go through the unfortunate. Almost every single year there is a, quote, spring cleaning. And some WWE talent gets released. They get their walking papers. Of course, best of luck in all of their future endeavors, WWE does say. Some of these do have the 90-day non-compete clause, so you will, eventually see them somewhere else, but it will not be for another 2 or 3 months. But I'm going to run down the list and tell you what I think. First off, Authors of Pain, and I'm also going to include Paul Ellering here. Unfortunate, Authors of Pain had quite a few interesting stints within WWE, and I felt that they did a lot of great work when they worked with Seth Rollins. I even enjoyed them this most recent run with Killer Cross or Karrion Kross rather, and that whole group. But I don't know. It just seems like they never got off the ground. And what's really crazy is that the tag team division on Raw and SmackDown is pretty burgeoning right now with talent and new teams and 2 sets of titles. I don't see why the Authors of Pain couldn't be involved in some way. But look, I'm sure they're going to find their way potentially to AEW, maybe to TNA. I wouldn't mind a TNA run for them. Paul Ellering, legendary tag team manager in his own right. The Road Warriors, of course, and Authors of Pain. But I'm sure he'll find a way into a pro wrestling spot one way or the other, whether it's with the Authors of Pain or on his own. I'm sure he'll find some sort of gig. We got Cedric Alexander, who, it's pretty simple to assume that he might be trying to reunite with the Hurt Syndicate over in AEW, and I would actually expect that to happen. So I hope that does happen. I'm looking forward to it if it does indeed do. But, again, another great in-ring talent. You wonder where it went wrong or what creative direction they were not hitting on with Cedric, or if they didn't have anything for him necessarily. These are all interesting cases. I'm not behind the scenes, so I really can't tell you exactly how it went. But, speculation can only get you so far. So hopefully he ends up in AEW, and the Hurt Syndicate are really thriving right now in AEW, so we'll see. Blair Davenport, Isla Dawn, both these ladies really felt that they had some, Blair Davenport getting drafted to SmackDown was a huge moment. I remember her being very emotional, and Isla Dawn being a member of the Women's Tag Champions at a moment. And it's just crazy to me. Again, I said this with the tag titles. They added a United States and Intercontinental Championship for the women, yet there's no room for either of these girls to have a spot. I think both are very talented and will likely find their way in either TNA or AEW. That's not to say that any spot on the independent scene wouldn't be successful for them, but I just view, AEW and TNA likely are the best spots for them to go. So we'll see. Another one is Sonya Deville. Now, Sonya Deville, I'd really like to see in AEW. I think she could be an authoritative piece, whether she's in ring or not. I thought she did a great job when she was in WWE as the Adam Pearce sidekick, or kind of in ring. She was also great. So whatever she intends to do, I think I would actually, if I had to pinpoint, I would say AEW is a really nice landing spot for Sonya Deville. So we'll see. Giovanni Vinci. Wow, easy for me to say, but tough to believe he's gone. After the Imperium thing, and it just never materialized after they split up. And I think they were going to try a new gimmick with him, but then he, had some quick losses, and it just didn't work out. I could see him in TNA. I could see him for sure in TNA. I could see him running some prominent independents. I'd like to see some of these guys and girls potentially go to GCW as well. I think that's an interesting spot for some of them to land. Elektra Lopez, who I truthfully hadn't had too much knowledge on up until the recent release, so I'm not going to divulge more than that, so I apologize. But again, I'm sure she'll show up somewhere and do great work. I think she was in NXT, if I'm not mistaken. And then additionally, the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. This is like their third or fourth time coming into WWE and then getting let go from WWE. The easy money is Carl Anderson should go to New Japan and, be Machine Gun Carl Anderson again. But I'd like to see them go to AEW. I know a lot of these, it's easy for me to say go to AEW. And, some would say, well, the AEW roster is so loaded. Some say bloated. Who knows if they could really sustain it. But, and we'll talk about it. With talent going from AEW to WWE, why can't it just keep going? They'll figure pieces out. AEW got rid of a few people recently. So, there's always room for an addition. And it's always addition and subtraction. Sometimes addition by subtraction. So, but I think TNA could absolutely go to, TNA could get the Good Brothers as well. I think TNA could really be bolstered with some of the releases for sure. Like I said, Authors of Pain could be there as well. Who knows where? But I think the only lock I could steadily come up with is Cedric Alexander going to AEW. So we shall see. I wanted to touch on this. This was quite interesting. There was a list of names that have been newly trademarked, which have been, now revealed that WWE has in fact trademarked these future names for future pro wrestlers in either, if they're the NIL recruits or NXT or developmental, who knows? But some of the names are pretty interesting, and I'm going to name all of them here. Osiris Griffin. I immediately think of the Osiris shoe and, Peter Griffin. So that's an interesting choice. I'm stumbling over myself just thinking about Osiris Griffin. Hayes Jameson. I'm not sure if that's like a hazing reference to the former Bushwhackers lackey Jameson. Who knows? Trill London kind of sounds unique. Anytime I think of Trill, I think of A$AP Rocky. Harley Riggins is a unique name. I think of Brad Riggins and Harley Race, of course. Summer Sorrell, I like the alliteration. Jax Presley, Mason Holiday, Draco Knox. A lot of these, I could say that I think that they're unique, but I almost just... some of them just come off like generated, like random generated names. I know that the story is there was a rap name generator sponsored by like the Wu-Tang Clan back in the day, and Donald Glover went in and figured out what his name could be as a rapper, and Childish Gambino was that name, and he became that, and he became huge. So some of these names, you never know what you're going to get. Tate Wilder, Braxton Cole, maybe a relation to Michael or Adam. Chantel Monroe, I think could be a unique name. And Aria Bennett. Just bizarre to say the least. These lists kind of pop up every now and again, and it's like it's always too late by the time we realize, oh, I remember when they named that list, and oh, this is who they're going to be. That makes sense. It always kind of, you forget about these crazy, unique names until, time happens and you see what it actually is. But I don't know. We'll see where some of these names fall, what guys and girls get these names. But I'll be intrigued, to say the least. Let's go through some NXT news. First, NXT is going to run Roadblock Tuesday, March 11th at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So those people that, we'll talk about in a moment, because the elephant in the room here, Ricky Starks, or we don't know what his name's going to be in WWE, made his debut in WWE in the NXT brand this past Tuesday, and a lot of people were upset that, oh, wow, debuting on the developmental brand for WWE. Wow, what a fall from grace. And shouldn't he be going to Raw or SmackDown? And my answer is, if NXT is a developmental brand, then I think that's the first developmental brand ever to run the theater at Madison Square Garden. Miss me with the developmental. It's not developmental anymore. The developmental is the ID program. It's daily work at the Performance Center. It's going to be WWE Evolve on Tubi. NXT is steadily now the third brand of WWE. I would hesitate to call it developmental. Sure, you're honing your skills there, but a lot of those guys and girls are well established, like your Jordan Graces and Julia Stephanie Vaquer. Are they in developmental? No, they're more than capable of being on a Raw or SmackDown, but NXT is where they are. Charlotte, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, Drew McIntyre, all were in NXT. I could continue on. And now they're fine. They're on the main roster. They're doing great things. They're main eventing WrestleManias. I just don't get it. I think it's a great move for NXT. The Roadblock brand's a unique one. I was at the second Roadblock event, Roadblock End of the Line, which was a unique event to say the least. At the end of 2016, I think it was. So yeah, fun name of the show. I was always always reminded of the WCW pro wrestler Roadblock, that Lex Luger had a very tough time getting in the torture rack, yet he did succeed. So that's an interesting note. And yeah, well, let's talk about Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks, Miro. Okay, so the folks that are officially released by AEW here, likely, whether it's official or not, is Miro, Ricky Starks, Malachi Black, and apparently Rey Fenix, but we're not really sure. He's not really removed yet. But those other guys have been removed from the roster pages. I assume Aleister Black could return to WWE as soon as the night after WrestleMania. I would be very intrigued to either see Miro come back as Rusev and them capitalize even further on Rusev Day, or go to TNA and do very well. I'm not saying he wouldn't do very well in WWE, but just going to TNA and making that his new venture, I think, would actually benefit him as well. Ricky Starks in NXT, I think this guy has a really high ceiling. I think it was a combination. No one or the other is more guilty than the rest, but Ricky Starks, might have not liked the direction he was going creatively in AEW, but at the same time, AEW might have mismanaged the creative direction for Ricky Starks. Once again, I'm not backstage. I don't really know. Going off of reports that I see and people that I choose to believe or not, and ultimately it was a good decision to mutually part ways, and now Ricky Starks can get an opportunity to thrive at NXT. I think it's the perfect brand for him to start, and I think you'll like Aleister Black could see Ricky Starks in Raw or SmackDown shows by Mania season. I know that's now, but after Mania, night after Mania. I don't know if he'd be up before then, but we'll see. If he works Stand and Deliver, if he works Vengeance Day, that remains to be seen. I'm sure he'll show up there, but I think Ricky Starks has a lot of, a lot to give to WWE and to ascend to a level he couldn't achieve in AEW for one reason or the other. Whatever reason it is irrelevant because that's over, and Ricky Starks is a fresh start. So more power to him, more power to WWE with him, and more power to AEW, figuring it out what they've got with their own talent that they still have. So we shall see. I do want to touch on, so Jey Uso officially confirmed that he is going to challenge Gunther at WrestleMania 41 for the World Heavyweight Championship. So now the winner of the men's Royal Rumble. Man, I'm so confused. This is a rough episode, guys. No, the winner of the men's Elimination Chamber match, March 1st, a couple of weeks away, will in fact take on Cody Rhodes, undisputed World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. And I want to put forth the lineup so far. So right now for the women, it's Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, and two more combatants where either it's Naomi or Chelsea Green, which is happening tonight on SmackDown, or Raquel Rodriguez or Roxanne Perez will advance. I have a feeling Roxanne Perez gets in. I think Raquel and Liv have some other business to tend to in regards to the tag titles, potentially. I wouldn't mind seeing Naomi get a shot in the chamber, although Chelsea would really benefit from that Toronto crowd for sure. In the men's chamber, so this is de facto going to face Cody because the women, Charlotte did not choose a selection yet. We'll see. Maybe that happens this week on SmackDown tonight. I don't know. But for the men, thus far, of course, John Cena called his shot. He will be in the Elimination Chamber match by way of just saying he's in it. CM Punk earned his way in, Drew McIntyre as well, and Logan Paul, by way of defeating Rey Mysterio, is in the Elimination Chamber match. Tonight on SmackDown, it will be either Braun Strowman, Damian Priest, or Jacob Fatu to enter the chamber. And then Monday night, Seth freaking Rollins and Finn Balor. Winner makes the chamber. And again, the winner faces Cody Rhodes. So it's either going to be Cena and Cody, Punk and Cody, Drew and Cody, Logan Paul and Cody. More likely Seth Rollins, not Finn Balor, but Seth Rollins and Cody. And I think Jacob Fatu could make the chamber as well. But I would not be shocked if Damian Priest, fresh into SmackDown, could make his claim by winning the triple threat. So, especially if Fatu and Strowman potentially cancel each other out, maybe that leads to a chaotic match at Chamber, no holds barred, something of that effect. So we'll see. But the Chamber's lining up to be an interesting show. Like I said, I think hopefully we'll get Charlotte's opponent sooner than later. But whoever she does not choose will have to defend against the winner of the women's chamber match. And like I said, with Jey choosing Gunther, winner of the men's chamber goes against Cody Rhodes. So it is going to be a happening, to quote the late, great Gorilla Monsoon. I, for one, looking forward to it March 1st. Hopefully, again, we will keep in touch with the winner of the Royal Rumble pool. He will be getting the shirt that he won. That has been processed, and that is in the process of happening. So the tribal chief will be receiving his prize, and then, as long as he's available, he will be hopping on the Elimination Chamber predictions show with at least me. And if Josh Eisenberg shows up, both of us will be doing that as well. So we'll see, but I'm looking forward to that. And I'm not sure we're doing anything for Chamber in regards to the pool party gaming, but I would wager WrestleMania for sure, and we'll get that kick started sooner rather than later. But yeah, we've gone through quite a bit of stuff on that. Before we close out with Grand Slam Australia and my predictions for that show, I do want to mention this, and as of this recording, it happened, only hours ago, but TNA wrestler Chris Bay, who, a couple of months ago had a very, very serious neck injury that happened to him in a match that was being taped, him and Ace Austin versus the Hardy Boys. And, the tapings were, I think, shut down, and he was taken to the hospital. He had to have some emergency surgery. And, GoFundMes were created. I know the major WF pod guys, Brian Myers, who's in TNA, Matt Cardona, Mark Sterling, of course. Those guys have the major bendies, bendable action figure line, as well as their big rubber guys. But I know that they made a Chris Bay figure where all proceeds would go to him, and everybody's trying to support and donate whatever they can and really support this guy. But no real news had come out about what the injury was, how severe it was, anything like that, outside of, I think Rob Van Dam had mentioned that he had seen him and visited him, and that he had been initially paralyzed but had gotten past that, but really vague notes were in regards to it. Today, Chris Bay posted a 9-second video of him standing up out of a chair on his own power and walking towards the camera on his own power, which was breathtaking, to say the least. It was wonderful to see. It's wonderful to know that he got out of that terrible and terrifying situation. He also posted a lengthy note about the injury, what happened immediately, emergency surgery right after it happened. TNA was very supportive and rallied around him, and he wanted to thank any fan, his teammate Ace Austin, his girlfriend, I believe, as well, and just everybody that really even gave an ounce of support towards him. And they, apparently they gave him maybe 10 to 15% chance of walking again, and lo and behold, he's gone through so much therapy and rehab, and he got off that chair again by himself and walked towards the camera. Man, I got chills just talking about it. That's just amazing, and you just don't know what can happen in any of those situations. Pro wrestling, for a scripted event that is predetermined and what have you, these guys and girls are putting their bodies legitimately on the line, and you never know what could happen. And when you see something like that happen, but you see the rallying of support by every company, every pro wrestler, fans alike, no matter who it is, getting behind this guy and supporting him, and for him to get out of the situation in a way where it seems like he's on the up and up. Who knows if he'll ever wrestle again, but to know that he will have a literal better chance at life due to how he came out of it is at least a great start and a great place to be, even if he doesn't end up wrestling ever again. Who knows what he wants to do? It's very serious, but these these wrestlers, they will do anything to continue their craft for the love of the game, so shout out to Chris Bay. I'm so glad that he recovered, and hopefully he can continue to recover, get stronger, get better, maybe one day get back in the ring, but overall just happy that he's in good standing health, quite literally. So shout out to Chris Bay. Let's get to the final portion of the Juice Box this week. We're talking Grand Slam Australia. This was, we talked about it on Drew and Juice. We've talked about it a lot on Twitter over the last couple of weeks, how this show was supposed to be in a stadium, Suncorp Stadium, over 50,000, but then, it moved to a different place for about a 14,000 capacity. and it's not going to be a pay-per-view, even though they really didn't say it was going to be. I know a few local Australian news outlets said that it was, but they changed it. Logistically, it just didn't make sense. And that makes sense for Tony Khan. I just feel like it would have been a little bit better to get ahead of that if they felt this is not going to be on pay-per-view. It's going to be, super early in the morning, or, we got to do what we got to do. Now it's going to be more of an episode of Collision on tape delay. However, it's still a pretty damn huge show in regards to the matches. So after the All-Star Saturday night festivities for the NBA, you can tune in to TNT and Max, of course. Check it out. I believe, they say 10:30 Eastern, something like that, but you never know with these contests. They could last longer. Who knows? But I cannot wait to check it out. To be honest, I'm not going to look at any spoilers. So we shall see how it all turns out. But we have 5 matches so far, and we will discuss them and predict them. We have a singles match for the AEW Continental Championship. Kazuchika Okada takes on Buddy Matthews. This could be a main event anywhere. Both these guys are unbelievable. Buddy Matthews, of course, is Australian. This is going to be a home crowd for him. I'd like to see him beat Okada, to be honest with you. Especially considering, Malachi Black leaves, Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Julia Hart kind of had that vignette of like, hey, we don't need a leader anymore. We can do this on our own or collectively. Whatever we need to do, we're going to do it. And whatever it takes to be successful, that's what we're going to try to achieve. And for Buddy to make a statement in his home country to win the Continental title against a star of the caliber of Okada, sign me up. So give me Buddy Matthews to win this match. Man, this is, again, loaded card. Jay White and Cope take on the Death Riders, Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli, in a Brisbane brawl. This should be fun. It should be around, the whole arena, I'm sure. Anytime they do these types of matches, whether it's Stadium Stampede or, anything like this, I love it for sure. I love the anarchy in the arena as well. All of those. So I'm looking for Cope and Jay White to get the victory on the Death Riders and set up that Cope-Mox one-on-one, supposedly, for Revolution taking place in March in LA. Although I wouldn't be shocked if the Death Riders get the win, and Cope has to fight back to it. But I think Cope probably gets a pin and is like, hey, I beat you once in this crazy setting. I can beat you again for the title when it all matters the most. Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega versus Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita in a tag team match. Literally a dream tag team in a potentially dream match. These 4 guys are going to tear the house down. I don't see any other way but to put Ospreay and Omega over the moon here and win this match. Get a huge win against Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita. Kyle Fletcher, again, hometown boy, but I have doubts that he will be successful here. He will be maybe booed a little bit, but I think still celebrated for being a hometown guy. I expect a hell of a match. I think Omega, coming back and being paired with Ospreay in this way gets a good start to reincorporating Kenny into these storylines, as he came back from a very serious diagnosis, over a year lost of his career. So let's get him in this tag match. Let's see him perform at the high level we know he can perform at, and then move forth with whatever happens at Revolution. So give me Omega and Ospreay to win. And then these final 2 matches are incredible. Mariah May taking on Timeless Toni Storm, who, again, Toni Storm, New Zealand, Australia, hometown. I'm sure everybody's going to be thrilled to see her coming in and trying to take back her championship from Mariah May. I am on board with Toni Storm winning this match against Mariah May. However, I have a feeling they're going to make it a little, I feel like they want to push it a little further. I think Mariah May could steal a win here against Timeless Toni Storm, so that's what I'm going to predict. However, I would not be shocked in any regard if Toni Storm were to win this after, losing her Timeless ability, becoming a rookie again, reclaiming the Timeless Act, and now trying to secure that championship once again. So who knows? She's been gone. She was gone for almost 4 months, and she won this whole thing, and now, let's see what she's got. Can she get back to the top of the mountain once more? I don't see why not. And then finally, Mercedes Moné versus Harley Cameron for the TBS title. Harley Cameron, Australian, again, this show is really unique in the fact that a lot of the talent in, 4 of the 5 matches are going to be Australian or close to it, and very well received by the fans down under. And again, for this to be the first AEW show in Australia, I think is a really cool opportunity to pull the trigger on some of these moments. And at any other point, I would have said, oh, Moné's going to win this. It's going to be a pretty simple match. I don't see why Harley Cameron would win this. But Harley Cameron has been the best thing on AEW TV for the last several weeks. It's her charisma. It's her comedic timing. The nature of her promos. She did a thing with a Mercedes Moné puppet. She's organically funny. And she's just well-rounded as a character. And it's gotten organically over. And this is exactly what AEW needs to capitalize on when things are starting to get over that they might not have anticipated. Sometimes you need to pull that trigger. They waited a little bit on the Acclaimed, but they pulled the trigger at Grand Slam. They could wait here and have Harley get so close in her home country to then, maybe garner a rematch at Revolution and then win it. But to me, I say pull the trigger on Harley Cameron, get a huge win over Mercedes Moné. Moné has beaten everybody to this point, so Cameron, getting that first big win over Mercedes Moné, handing Moné that first loss in AEW, at least for the title here, would be massive. And if anything, you could have the title switch back to Moné at Revolution. But you've in one month, you've made Harley Cameron a star, and you've kept the title pretty much around Moné for whoever wants to take it in the future, if that's how you're going to go. But to me, I say go for it. Why not Harley Cameron? Why not right now? I don't see any issue in trying that. Nobody ever tries anymore. But seriously, I just think it'd be a great opportunity. And the WWE way is if you're going to be in if you're in your hometown or country, you're likely going to lose. Well, I don't think every Australian talent is going to lose on this show. In fact, I think a lot of them are going to come out on top, if not have gold around their waist. So my official predictions are Mariah May to retain, Ospreay and Omega to win, Buddy Matthews to win the Continental Championship, Cope and Jay White to win the Brisbane Brawl, and I am going to say Harley Cameron does the unthinkable and wins the TBS Championship over Mercedes Moné. So I'm looking forward to Grand Slam Australia. It'll be a cool late night pay-per-view type experience, which will be really unique. Especially, the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, a lot better than watching the actual All-Star games. So I'll be kind of locked into those. Additionally to the USA and Canada hockey match in the Four Nations tournament. So I'll be glued to the TV for quite a few hours on Saturday night. But closing it out with some AEW action is always great for the soul, because pro wrestling at any time is the best. So really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Juice Box this week. I'm sure if you've seen or paid attention to the feed, the Drew and Juice episodes have been popping up there. It's a collaboration between Drew and myself, but this is the outlet that I've got for audio. So if you want to listen to it audio instead of checking it out on YouTube at Final Bell Media's YouTube channel, you can check out the audio version of our live show that we do on Thursday nights in this feed. They're under, just search Drew and Juice. They've got the unique artwork presented there, so check out his feed at Andrew Baydala on Twitter, and of course me at Juicy Steen if you want to check out his and I's just our little discussion show. It's been real fun. We're 6 weeks in, and we're having a great time bantering, going over certain topics and diving into certain things that I wouldn't necessarily do, because he's got more of a business acumen than I do. So he sees things from another perspective, and it's good to get those takes. Here at the Juice Box, we welcome any and everybody. We've had Drew on the show, but of course we've got, I don't have to go through the litany, but, Main Event Maniacs guys, the Triple Threat Theater guys, LeBar, Eisenberg, Ghoulish have been on, Lucas and Loper, and anybody that's been on the show, especially, and then we've got the SIP series, of course. We really welcome and want to extend the invite to any and all that really want to get involved in chat wrestling, because that's what this whole show is based on, by fans, for the fans. So appreciate any support you guys have here on the Juice Box. But hopefully you guys enjoy the week coming up for pro wrestling. We've got, like I said, Grand Slam Australia, some chamber match conclusions, so we find out all 6 members on both sides. Maybe we'll figure out by next week who Charlotte's facing at WrestleMania. A lot going on. But 2 weeks before Chamber, 3 weeks before AEW Revolution, and we're 2 months away from WrestleMania, so things are kicking into high gear. I am Juice Springsteen. Check it out on Twitter at JuicySteen, and find the show wherever you can, wherever you listen to podcasts. So for yours truly, I am Juice Springsteen, and I hope to see you guys next week with another edition of The Juice Box. That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.